Sachi Ainge. I have been training at Easton since the beginning of 2014. I grew up in Hawaii, and I think that really influenced the things that are important to me, the kind of places that I like to live. So I'm the director of marketing, which is a lot of stuff on the computer. In my time doing this, I have worn a lot of hats. When I first started, I was just entry-level front desk, checking people in, learning to sell memberships. My first training shift at the front desk was at the old Easton location, which is less than a third the size of this one. So I got to see the opening of the big Boulder school. And when we started, we had maybe 300 members, and I was part of the growth and got to see it evolve over time. I had not done any martial arts before. I was not what I would consider athletic at the time. I was fresh out of college and hadn't really worked out in college pretty much at all. And then I came into this place where it's just just badasses, and I was scared of that. But I think I was excited to get into it, Empowerment to me has the connotation of power given. So setting up a situation or an environment where someone can have agency and someone can be strong. A lot of the times in my life where I've felt empowered have been here, in my job at Easton. A few years ago, I was organizing our 20th anniversary party, which was the biggest event I've ever organized, and maybe the biggest event Easton's ever had. And I felt like I was so trusted to make this thing go smoothly, and I had the funds I needed, I had the team I needed, I had the support and excitement of the whole community. And so it was really cool to feel like I was empowered to make this thing happen. It is much more easy in the US for men to have a position of power, maybe one that they're not even conscious of, right? And I think that is one of the things that is hard for men to understand, because it's if you're a fish swimming in the water and you're oh, what is water, right? It's something that people aren't really conscious of, and they don't really notice the ways that it affects their day-to-day lives and affects other people around them. And this is not everyone, but some men have it easier than they realize. Sometimes women have to fight harder for the things that are almost just handed to men. My advice to women who are thinking about training is you can do it, and you should. I think that it, for me at least, has been such an experience of growth and of becoming more self-assured. And of course, like I was talking about earlier, some of that is just growing up here, right? I spent my entire 20s at Easton and have become more myself in a lot of important ways. But I do think that a big part of the confidence that I've gained in the last 7 years, 8 years is due to feeling like maybe I can handle myself, in those situations where you're walking alone at night through Denver, you're all right, if someone wanted to come at me, then they might be in for an unpleasant surprise. I'm there's something very satisfying about that, and I think that most women can benefit from having that kind of self-assuredness. It's like a feeling of safety that you can just carry around with you. It's you're creating this safety for yourself. You're self-empowering, perhaps. I think for women who are starting out in martial arts, maybe it can be more intimidating, right? Especially if you go to an academy that just has mostly men and you're one of the only women on the mat. So I think having an environment where there are other women who you can look up to, and there are other women doing cool things and women who are respected within the community, I think that makes a huge difference in feeling welcome and feeling like there's someplace for you to go. There is a misconception that women in martial arts have to be these like raging badasses, right? And certainly a lot of them are. I know women who are fierce, and that's a really cool thing to be around. But I don't think that I would have considered myself that when I first started. Like, when I tell people now that I do Muay Thai, they like look at me differently, or they think that maybe I'm some kind of like dangerous person, which maybe I am, but I think there's this idea that like you have to have this baseline of like toughness, and I think that that actually is something that you develop through the practice, right? And it's like you can still be like a delicate flower and kick some ass. It's like those things can coexist, and I think that not everyone realizes that. I think that there are times where within the broader maybe martial arts community, and this is a thing that we've been talking about a lot recently, is like there are times where women can be disempowered. There are times where women can have their voices squashed. They can be taken advantage of in a place where they're not respected enough. And I think that that can happen anywhere, right? Like, it doesn't have to be in a martial arts academy. It happens on the street. It happens at work. It happens, like, to people all the time, everywhere. But I do think that a place where physical strength is something that helps you to succeed, and your, like, large presence is something that gives you power sometimes, it can be easy to like cheat with that, right? Like to create an environment where women don't have power because they don't have as much physical strength, perhaps, or maybe because they aren't in positions of leadership, right? Like if you don't have a woman you can turn to who has power within your organization and you're being wronged, like where are you gonna go? Who are you gonna tell? You just have to leave, probably. And people do that, right? It happens all the time. We still have majority men in both programs. We still have majority male instructors. We still have majority male leadership team, right? Like all of our GMs are men. And I think that that is something that eventually will change, right? Like putting women into positions of power within our organization has to come from there being women around to put into these positions of power, right? So in the time that I've been here, like the demographic has shifted a lot, right? Like I think it was probably 70-30 or more, like more men when I first started at Easton. And now we have so many women on the mats, which is really cool to see. With time, empowering these women, cultivating this environment, encouraging their growth and development is going to produce the people who are going to lead us in the future. And so I think that that's something that we can continue to feed, and, you know, eventually we'll have a more balanced society within our little microcosm, I guess.